Hey, everybody. Welcome to Chapter 2 of Conversations with Curtis. Before we get started, the music video that we just played was made by a YouTuber, Crimestone, back in 2008. He reached out to me and shared it after last month's live stream, and I thought it was hilarious, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So we'll post his link in the comments in case you missed it or want to check it out again later. Okay, welcome to this month's live stream. My name is Paul Morgan Stetler, and back in 1996, I played Curtis Craig in Sierra Online's full motion video game Phantasmagoria 2, A Puzzle of Flesh. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the making of the game, and to celebrate, I am hosting a monthly live stream series through the end of the year and maybe beyond. Where I invite different actors, artists, and creators of the game to join me and reminisce about our experiences about making it before dementia sets in and we're too old to remember anything. So last month was our first episode. It was just me, about 200 of you, and our surprise guest, Todd Lasea, who played Curtis's dad in the game. It was a lot of fun, and I'm amazed that in the last month that recording has been viewed over 5,000 times, which just blows my mind. I think I'm only now realizing just how much this game means to some people, and I am honored and excited to bring you new and interesting perspectives and content over the coming months. And I have a feeling that we might end up with a few more viewers turned in for today's show because A, we are not only broadcasting on our YouTube channel, but on Twitch as well. At least I hope we are, which is a whole new frontier for me. So, and then B, because I know a lot of people are very excited to meet today's guest, actress and multi-hyphenate Monique Parent, who played Curtis's much put upon girlfriend in the game. Monique will be joining us in a little while. But first, I wanted to follow up on a few things from last month's stream. And it's going to start with a couple of apologies. For those of you who were there and saw it, Todd Lasea came on as our guest near the end of the show. And we played a wonderful video that he did for us. And if you haven't seen it yet, please go to our YouTube channel where he reads Jonas's letter to Curtis, Curtis, if you're reading this, I am dead letter. And we just made a really cool video of that. And then we had a great conversation. He was super charming and wonderful. And the plan was to make him available to answer some questions from the fans that were with us. And I totally spaced it. I forgot to say that. I said goodbye to him and he was ready to answer some questions. And I think you guys were ready to ask him some questions. So apologies to him. And my hope is to bring him back for maybe a question and answer session on our Patreon page. We'll do like a special thing there where maybe people can connect with Todd and we can have another discussion with him. So keep an eye out for that. The other apology is one of our Patreon members and wonderful fans, John Magnus from Norway, reached out to me a while back, and he had procured some of these backstage photos that I shared with you in the stream last month. I had some of my own, but he, through a connection, he connected to Lorelei back in the 90s, and she somehow sent him this zip, and he had it, and anyways, reached out to me. And so part of that backstage series of photos was photos that John Magnus had provided for me. And I did not thank him for that. And I do want to make up for that now and say thank you, John Magnus, for those photos. All right. Got that out of the way. Okay, so here's what's next. I'm going to answer, I said last month that I didn't answer all the questions that were asked of me. So I was going to double back and answer a few more questions that I have here. And then we're going to look at some fan art. I put out a plea for some Phantaz 2 fan art, and I want to share some stuff with you. And then we'll bring Monique out. So that's kind of the plan at the moment. Here we go. Okay, questions for me from the last live stream. The first one, a lot of people asked me this, if I had ever worked an office job like Curtis, and the answer is yes. I spent so many years temping. I temped for maybe 6 or 7 years as I was trying to get my acting career off the ground. And I did data entry, I answered phones, I was in the mailroom, I did all that stuff for a long time. So I'm very familiar. And so when I got into Curtis's cubicle, it was a familiar scene. All right. Next question was from, I'm going to mispronounce a lot of people's names, Vile. He wrote, Dimension X was supposed to have swimming scenes. Did you get to do any of those before they were scrapped? You know, it's funny. It's only recently when I've started diving back into this world of P2 that I heard about this swimming scene. And it's true. I've heard it mentioned a number of times now. I don't remember it in the script. And I don't remember talking about it. I was kind of overwhelmed anyway, so maybe it was just something that we were going to do down the line. But that's kind of news to me. I don't remember it. It may have actually gotten cut out of the script before we ran out of money. So that would have been fun, though. Okay, next question was Ms. Skip62 wrote, did you think your character would be so loved all these years later? I didn't think this character would be loved a year later. I mean, I'm just blown away by this. I can't believe that we're all here talking about this. You know, as I said before, the game didn't do well when it came out, and the couple reviews I read were not kind, and were not particularly kind towards Curtis or the actor playing Curtis. So I kind of put it behind me. So anyways, no, I'm very surprised and thrilled. It's really fun. Homestar Runner Tron wrote, did the script come with a kind of game design Bible that explained each of the characters and the world in detail? You know, again, I remember, as I said in the last month's stream, the script that I saw was probably 300 to 400 pages long. And it was just overwhelming. And what I remember was you had to really look a lot to find the dialogue. The dialogue was in there. But I think Lorelai had a lot of notes, stage directions. I don't think she broke down character. She might have, I don't remember that. But a lot of she would put the character's thoughts in the stage direction. So that was helpful. And then there was just tons of game elements. So since I've been asked this question a couple of times, I dove in a little bit more because I'm wondering if my memory is, is something we can depend on. And I found this, an interview with Wes Plate, who was the editor. And this interview was online, and they asked him about the script. And so I'm going to read you, this was like in 1997. So here's what Wes said back then. He wrote, the script was hundreds of pages long and underwent many revisions. It would take forever to print. The script contained actors' lines, Lorelai's ideas for character direction, as well as gameplay indicators that explained when each movie would play. So I think my memory is fairly sound here, because it was just this very dense script. Okay, moving on. Dr. Danik wrote, what on earth was with the dancers in the club introduction scene? All right, so again, this thing comes up all the time. And so I showed this last month, and I'm going to show it again. And I just, let's put an end to this. Not put an end, but let's put a cap on it for now, because I think there's some other funny, interesting things to fixate on. So in the game, Curtis is going to an S&M club to meet Therese. And in this one moment, and I remember we were filming on location in downtown Seattle, and it was the Weathered Wall was the name of the club. And then I'm not sure if that backstage entrance from the alleyway was to the Weathered Wall or it was somewhere else, but they set it off they cordoned it off for the set. And so when you see the scene, there's a bouncer, and he's talking to a very petite biker girl. I mean, and who's drunk and trying to get in. And as they're arguing, these three dudes, just these guys from the street, kind of bounce and sync this weird little dance move across the camera. And then at that point, I think I walk into the frame and notice them. And at that point, the bouncer throws this very small, delicate person down to the ground. And then I end up going up to him. It doesn't make any sense. I want to show it to you. Let's go ahead and show this whole thing right now. Oh, before we do.
Get out of here.
Okay, sorry, we'll do it again. I want you to listen to the bouncer's voice. I just found this out. The bouncer's voice, it's not the person, but the voice is Gary Spinrad, the composer for Phantasmagoria 2. So I thought you want to hear his voice while you listen to this. Okay, now let's do it.
Get out of here.
I just want to have a drink with my friend. Just
I said get out of here.
It is truly one of the most bizarre scenes of all time. And all I can say, I don't remember much of this. I do think I can say this. I don't think that the people who, like Andy and the director, I don't think they were going for humor. I think they were going for cool. I think they were thinking that somehow that represented a cool place to be. So I don't know. All right, but I want to move on from the Dancing Boys, and I want to share with you what I think is the most bizarre moment in the entire movie game. I always call it a movie. So my brother sent this link to me. So apparently Grimbeard, who is a YouTuber who does a lot of gaming, he did a wonderful review of Phantas 2 a couple of years ago, and he pointed this out. So I just saw this link, and let's show it. I think I might have to talk a little bit over it. So it's right where Trevor and Curtis are at the Dreaming Tree, and Trevor gets up to go, and he hasn't eaten his ice cream sundae. So he gives the ice cream sundae to Curtis, and I just want you to watch and see what Curtis does after. So let's go ahead and play this.
Finish this off before a stiff breeze blows you away there, scarecrow boy.
Curtis looks over his shoulder. No one's looking. He grabs the pepper, and he peppers the ice cream sundae. Yep. So that I don't know if you could hear me over the video or not, but Curtis takes a pepper shaker and he pours pepper on the ice cream and eats it. I don't remember doing that at all. It blew my mind, and I can't for the life of me remember what the choice was behind that. It could have been Andy didn't say cut, and I'm just trying to figure out what to do, and I was goofing around. It could have been someone like Lorelai saying you should do this. I don't remember any of it, but it does just, it makes sense. Alien Curtis may have a different taste buds than the rest of us. I don't know. So anyways, that's the new one, the pepper incident. Okay, moving on. Number 5, Dizzy asked, did you actually get your navel pierced? No, I didn't. That's a great question though. And I forgot about this until this question came up, but the guy who, the actor who played the piercer was someone who did piercing from the local tattoo shop. So when we were there, we were, rehearsing, and he looks up at me and he goes, dude, I could totally do this right now. I could do this on camera for you for free. I'm happy to do it. And I'm like, oh no, that's weird. And I didn't want to, but then I thought, oh, I know they're going for weird grisly stuff. Maybe it would be a really cool shot if they saw the needle go into the, into the belly button. And so I actually went to the director, Andy, and I said, listen, if you really want this, we can talk about it. And to my, with great luck, he said, no, I don't want to do that. We'll just do it in editing. So I was somewhat open to it, but I'm very happy I didn't. Okay. Next question was John Magnus. John Magnus wrote, was there any romance between the actors outside the set? John Magnus, that is a very personal question. Well, it has been 25 years, so I feel like I can probably finally, admit this, that no, there was no romance with me anyway. I was single and probably, if I recall, probably open to it, but both my co-stars, Rachna and Monique, were married, happily married at the time. And even my other co-star, Paul Mitri, who played Trevor, he was married and had a couple kids. So I had no chance really with anybody. So unfortunately, no, there might have been some shenanigans going on that I didn't know anything about, but I was, Paul Stetler was not as irresistible as Curtis Craig was during that shoot. All right, other question. Where can I buy one of those cool gray t-shirts? You know, when we, those gray t-shirts, we went to the Gap and we bought 12 of those t-shirts, and we bought 6 pairs of black jeans, and that's what I wore. And I just went to the Gap website the other day to see what their gray pocketed t-shirt looks like now, and it looks exactly like this. Dun, da, da, da. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't look like the same gray t-shirt to me. It's a little darker. It's a little more form-fitting. I'm not sure Curtis would have done well in that. He was rocking the baggy t-shirt. So anyways, you can get one of those. We're actually thinking of tracking down a t-shirt that looks similar to the one Curtis wore and creating a little Conversations with Curtis logo and selling it on our Patreon. So stay tuned. That might be some swag we'll have available in the future. Marty McFly asked me what my favorite movie and my favorite TV show is. I get this question a lot, and it makes me nervous because it's hard to narrow things down to one. There's just so many things that you like. And I think Marty McFly wants me to say Back to the Future, which used to be one of my favorite movies, but that doesn't age very well. I watched it again with my kids, and we had some explaining to do. Okay, so here's what I got. These are the first 2 that came to mind, and I'll stand by them. I'm not saying they're my favorite, but I love these. The movie that I love is The Royal Tenenbaums by Wes Anderson. I think it is a perfect movie. I think it's Wes Anderson's best movie, and I can watch it over and over. It's got everything that I love: comedy and drama, incredible acting, style. It's just a great film. And then TV show. I'll tell you, I just thought about this. We watched the movie or the TV show The Great on Hulu this year when we were down in quarantine, and I loved it. It's about Catherine the Great's rise to power during the Russian Revolution. It stars Elle Fanning, and it's super funny and really smart. And I was really surprised how much I like that. So those are my 2. Okay. And then finally, Accursed Farms. Ross Scott at Accursed Farms asked me, what was the role where you showed yourself dressed as a mad scientist? And so what Ross is referring to is that last live stream, I showed some photos of my theater work that I've done in the past. And one of those photos was me dressed as a mad scientist. And it's from a play called Louis Slotin Sonata. There I am. And it's an amazing play by a playwright by the name of Paul Mullen. And I was lucky enough to play the leading role in the Seattle production. And the play's about the project scientist, Louis Slotin, who was part of the Manhattan Project and helping to develop the atomic bomb. It's based on a true story where he was experimenting or demonstrating an experiment to his friends or his colleagues about how to bring 2 hemispheres of a plutonium core really close to each other to get really close to criticality. And he was kind of showboating, and he was using a screwdriver, which he shouldn't have been, to get it nice and close, and his hand slipped. And that top hit it basically set off a radiation dose in the room that killed him 9 days later. So this play is really wonderful in the sense that it's in sonata form, like a musical, where he just relives this moment over and over and over again. Why did he do it? What could he have done differently? You know, and that particular picture of me as the mad scientist is him kind of dreaming that he was the hero and not someone who was not doing the right thing. So this is kind of a humorous take on this thing that he did. And the funny thing is that I'll get off this a second, but you asked. This year marks the 75th anniversary of Slotin's death. And I just found out, coincidentally, that there is a live stream reading of Louis Slotin Sonata tonight at 7 p.m. So if you're want to take a little break after conversations with Curtis and want to watch a play about a scientist, check it out. Okay, so those are all of my questions for to wrap up last month. So there we go. So now we are going to move forward and do this new segment about fan art. A couple months ago, or I don't know, a few weeks ago, someone reached out to me and said, do you know how much fan art there is? And he sent me this Tumblr page that had this incredible array of art about Phantasmagoria 2. And I grabbed a few of those, and on social media, I sent a little challenge saying, if anybody has anything, please send it to us. So I want to show you just a few pictures of the art that we found that was been floating around on the net, and then a couple new things. So this first one was made by a handle called King Mediocre. I think it was on the Tumblr site. And I love that. I think he absolutely captures my eyes. And then this next one is by Eliza on Twitter at Kolnoy, Noix. And I think that's amazing. I just, that photo of her, you know, she just, or not photo, but the drawing of that is really cool. And then there's another eyeball picture by Starlight Pirate, who sent this to us on Instagram. Next one is from Halloween Darlene. This was on the Tumblr site. Really cool picture. I wish my back was as broad as that. And then this one's hilarious. This is Here Is Something. And I think, again, this was on the Tumblr site. So let's call Dead Bob's Cubicle. Beep, 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 boop, boop, boop. Ring, ring. You murdered me. Slam. So pretty fun. Okay, next one. Yeah, Lich Loved, that person's site, his bloody cubicle. I think that's a great drawing. Sorry. Rat Tartra drew this one of Trevor and Curtis in their last embrace underneath all the wires. Very nice. This one's the Melting Curtis. This was also or by Stella. I don't know. I guess this was on. I'm not sure I found this one. Oh, this was on Twitter. This was sent to us on Twitter. It's really cool. Oh, Annie Christ, who is also a podcaster and had Lorelai and myself on her show about 6 months ago. She drew this for that particular episode, and I think that's awesome. And it's actually, being on her podcast was really one of the things that got me thinking about doing this. So I'm very indebted to Annie for that. This one's awesome. Sir Toby, Phantasmagoria Lego. I love it. That's really cool. And then let's see. Thermal Fairy. Very much a Spoonie fan, I would think. I heard that, Curtis. I've heard that line a lot. And then the one I just got was from a guy just yesterday or the day before, at Super Dementios on Twitter, sent this by saying, cannot thank you enough for bringing Phantaz 2 back to the front of my brain. I drew some Curtises to celebrate how much I missed him. So lots of fun, really cool stuff. So here's the deal. Right now at the beginning of our show, we're doing a pre-show where it's mostly just still images from Phantaz. What I'd like the pre-show to be is nothing but fan art. And it can be music, it can be, you know, drawings, pictures, videos, whatever you want to send or get to us on, you know, on Twitter or, you know, just send it to us over social media, or you can get to us at Convos with Curtis. We'll put it on like convoswithcurtis@gmail.com. But send us some stuff, and then we'll add it to the pre-show. And we'll make sure everybody gets, you know, gets recognized and gets credit for their work. And that would be a really fun way to utilize our pre-show time. Okay. All right. I think the time has come. It is time to come to the reason we're all here today. And that is to talk to Monique Parent. Monique is an American actress known for smoldering love scenes and intensely charismatic characters. In a career spanning 25 years, Monique has appeared in well over 100 films and worked in a wide variety of genres, including sci-fi, horror, indie drama, and comedy. She's also the author of an instructional book for directors and actors on the intricacies of working in a nude environment on set called Nudity on Film. And if that isn't enough, she hosts a very positive and popular YouTube channel offering makeup and hair tips for women over 40. But here at Conversations with Curtis, we know her simply as JOCILYN. So please join me in welcoming Monique Parent.
Hi, how are you?
Monique, how are you?
Oh, it's so good to see you.
You too. We got a chance to, we saw each other briefly the other day when we wanted to tech this, but we have not laid eyes on each other in 25 years. You look amazing.
You look just the same.
I'll take it. I don't know if I believe it, but I'll take it. Yeah. How are you?
I am wonderful.
Good.
I am wonderful. How about you?
We're doing great. This is just a weird time, and I think so many people are making, lemonade out of these lemons in a lot of ways, and it's really neat to see that.
Yeah. What else are we going to do, right?
Exactly. What's your take on this? The fact that did you have any idea that this game was finding its life outside?
No, I had no idea. You go, you do a job, and then you leave and you go to another job. And by the time the thing comes out, you've done 8 more jobs. And it's, oh yeah, there was that thing. And because I never played the game, so I was kind of unaware of it. I just sort of it drifted off into the background of a job that I did a long time ago and then a longer time ago.
Right.
And
I had the same feeling. Yeah. And then was there a point where you're like, oh, I'm starting to get some chatter online or something about how this is coming back in some way?
I found something on YouTube one time that somebody had done where are they now?
Right.
But even then I caught it 2 years after it was.
I know, me too.
So yeah, I was completely unaware.
Right.
Just absolutely had no idea.
Well,
I'm glad I didn't read those reviews.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think you probably fared way better than I did, but
that's because
anyways, okay. So we're so happy to have you here, and I got a whole bunch of fun things to go down memory lane with. But what happened last week was the main question that I got to start this was people wanted to know what I was doing prior to getting cast as Curtis. So I jokingly put together this little 3-minute slideshow of my life from birth to getting cast as Curtis. Now, I'm not going to make you do a slideshow, but I do want you to tell us your entire life story from the moment you were born to the moment you were cast as JOCILYN in 3 minutes or less. Do you think you can do it?
I can do something in 3 minutes. I'm not sure.
Right.
We'll see.
I'm gonna have my friend Alvin start the clock, and as soon as you see it, or I'll say go.
Okay.
Where is it? There it is. Oh, 14 minutes. Let's get down to that gives you a lot more time. There we go. And action.
The hot flash. So the first couple of years are a little fuzzy, but I I had this book and it had ballerinas in it. And I saw these ballerinas and I thought, that's what I want to do. So I was 3 years old and I told my parents, take me to ballet class all the time. I pestered them. So at 3.5 years old, I was in ballet class. From that point on, all I wanted to do was to be on stage. I just wanted to be on stage. I did my first play at 9 years old, community theater or something at the college, was super hooked on it. Then I did Fiddler on the Roof, and opening night was my 11th birthday. And I was just hooked. I did little theater all growing up. And then when I was 24, I moved to Los Angeles. It was 1990. And I spent a year just studying at the Beverly Hills Playhouse with Milton Katselas before I ever even got headshots printed up and started trying to audition. And then when I did start trying to audition, everybody in Screen Actors Guild hates this. I got union on my first job, my first audition. I got one of them. On my first audition, I got my Screen Actors Guild on my first job, and then I was off and running. Now, I did a lot of stuff for Playboy, which was really weird for me. I remember when I got my first audition for Playboy, I was like, I'm not really the Playboy type. I'm pale. I'm not super busty. I had short hair. I was like, I am not the type, but they had this sort of didn't have a centralized casting at that time. So they were doing all of these short films, and a lot of really great filmmakers were getting their start at Playboy, who would just about give anybody 25 grand to make a movie. And so they were just making these short films like crazy. And I got cast in all of them. So I got a ton of great experience doing a lot of different things. And that kind of prepared me for auditioning for JOCILYN. And I think I'm remembering the right audition where, and it's funny because I don't remember you in the audition.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, that's why. But there were all of these men just lined up that they were testing chemistry with. So I spent an entire day kissing all of these different men. I was like, and then I had to go pick up my mother at the airport, and I was thinking, wow, tough job, huh? So that was my entire career up until working on Phantasmagoria.
Wow, fantastic. And 20 seconds to spare yet. Boy, that's impressive. Nice work. Nice job. Well, that's wonderful.
I get a prize? What do I win? I get to be on Conversations with Curtis.
Exactly. Well, that's great. So yeah, tell me, so what I remember, because we didn't audition together. I was up here in Seattle, and what I remember is that I was maybe not a last second, but they had cast someone. I think they had cast someone down. I'm looking at this and not you. They cast someone in LA, I think. And so, but apparently he dropped out for whatever reason. And so I auditioned. It was very fast. You could tell they were trying to scramble to get something. So I auditioned. And so Rachna, who was an actor in Seattle who played Therese, she was here and we read together, but I didn't meet you until the first day of rehearsal. And so yeah, do you remember Andy, or it's you? Like I said, you had so many auditions. What do you remember about him?
It was funny. Did Andy have a small cameo in?
Yeah, he plays the dead guy that they.
That's it. I recognized him. When I was watching, I was like, "That's Andy."
Yep.
It's so funny how I don't remember a lot of the shooting. I don't remember a lot of the stuff that we were actually doing on set. But I remember the people. I remember talking to the people. I remember all of my off time. I don't really remember when the cameras were rolling.
Well, that's a good transition, because I put together a little just a little montage of some of you in the game. So let's go ahead and play this for you, and you get to watch it for the first time.
Yay! Let me find glasses.
This is JOCILYN.
Thank you for last night.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Warner. You were great.
Hey.
Oh, it's you, Curtis. Well, you were pretty good too.
Bring back any memories at all?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I think they gave me a lot of the clothes, or some of the clothes were my clothes.
Oh, really?
And some were stuff they purchased for me. And it was like, oh yeah, I had that sweater for a long time. Oh yeah, I remember that sweatsuit.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I do remember, just that we had that big sound stage. And so the apartment and the Wintech was all sets that we were able to just shuffle in and out of. And so, as you said, there was so much backstage time waiting for the cameras to get ready. And
and I was making trips back and forth. You were there the whole time. We shot over what, 5 months?
I think it was 6 months. It felt something in the 6 month range. So yeah, whenever you guys were there, I was in heaven. But then there were so many days I was just doing things by myself, and I was just it was lonely.
I don't like, where are all my friends?
I know, exactly.
But yeah, I remember one time I got flown up, and it was whatever, because every time I was brought there, it was because, oh, we're shooting in this location and shooting in that location, this location. So they brought me for that, to shoot that location out. And I remember I just had like a couple of lines, and I actually sort of figured out what I was getting paid per letter. And I showed it to the producer and like, did you know that I'm making $81 a letter?
Oh my gosh.
Not amused by that.
This might be a good example of why they went over budget at the end of the shooting. So, well, cool. I was going to ask you, let's see. I have a couple of pictures just a couple that somehow, I ended up seeing. So let's show the first one and see if so this is the backstage, you and me kind of hanging out with the Seattle Times right next to it. So I remember there was so much of this kind of, just like you said, I can see why you remember that. We were all back there so much and just kind of hanging out. Yeah. Do you remember the pinball machine?
I don't remember the pinball machine.
Oh my gosh. That was like there was the Addams Family pinball machine in the green room, and we played it all the time. You probably, like you said, you may not have been there enough to get
I don't think I played the pinball machine.
And then here's this other one with you and Patricia, who was Robert's wife, and she was the makeup person. And Robert did all the special effects, all the crazy stuff. And I think together they did the makeup and such. But that's a great picture of you. You look so.
That was a cute scene.
Yeah.
And I think we had my bangs pinned because they were either in a too short or growing out stage. It's like, okay, this is a continuity issue. Okay, let's pin it over here.
Well, I also think that little barrette there's a barrette that I take off. I think they use it's a tool for later on. So
that's right. Didn't you open a lock or something with it?
Something like that. Yeah. Well, hopefully these guys will tell us. All right. So I'm going to scoot ahead. So we have a whole bunch of questions.
Okay.
And I'm going to be the moderator of these questions. So we're going to start by asking. So we have a bunch of Patreon members on our Patreon page who are going to ask you some questions, and then we have some folks from Facebook. And then at that point, we're going to just give you a little heads up of what's ahead for you. We'll watch a scene or two, like a couple scenes all the way through, and maybe we can just talk about it as we watch it and see what we remember. Wonderful. And then we'll do a live Q&A with the fans. And then that'll kind of be it. And I'll let you go after that. So that's
good, because it's Scampy night.
It's what?
Scampy night.
Yes. All right, here we go. So first question is from Mr. Gone. And he wrote, did you know who you were going up against for the role of JOCILYN? When you went into these auditions, did you run into a lot of the same people?
I had no idea. This was a bit of a different casting for me. A lot of times my casting, for some reason, tended to be the sultry one. And
I remember you telling me when we first met, you were surprised you weren't cast as Therese.
Therese, because that's what I usually get cast as. And it's so interesting to watch it now because I see myself as looking so young and innocent. And of course I should be playing JOCILYN. But at the time, so many other things cast me in that naughty girl role. And, you know, when you're at castings, you always see the same people. It's always the same people. But I was there for a different role, so I wasn't seeing the same people.
Oh, fascinating. Fascinating. That's great. Well, you are fantastic in that role.
It was fun.
Okay, so Annie wrote, this is a great, one of the best questions you can get. As Monique, as a drag queen and gamer, I'm a huge fan of you in both Phantasmagoria 2 and our YouTube channel, and your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Out of curiosity, how much did it cost to have the Fountain of Youth tap directly into your home plumbing? You are one of the most stunning human beings on the planet. Thanks for being you.
You know, it cost a fortune. It cost to have it put in. I don't know. And there are so many repercussions and side effects. Thank you. And thank you. That is very.
Okay, so Connor asked that I guess I had mentioned, we just kind of covered this. He wanted to know what kind of roles you usually played. And if it's, and I guess the other question he asked is, I'm curious if it's easier for you to play against type or more difficult to play against type.
It's, gosh, you know, I think it's easier to play against type because I think when I am playing the villainous or the naughty girl or, you know, the whatever, it's easy to kind of go into that character. But when you're playing something that's really close to you, it's a lot harder because it feels more vulnerable. It feels more like all those natural vulnerabilities that we as humans are always trying to suppress.
Yeah.
So JOCILYN was a lot closer to me in real life than the usual role that I play.
Yeah.
She's a little more sensitive and vulnerable than what I usually play.
Right. Right. Huh. Christian wants to know what part about your role or about the story made you say yes to the project? And then the follow-up question is, do you think JOCILYN and Curtis would have been together forever after all that had happened?
Oh, I don't know that they would have been together forever after all that happened. JOCILYN strikes me, love JOCILYN, but now I'm looking at JOCILYN with a little history, and she seemed a little needy. And she seemed to be sort of pushing her agenda a little bit. I love you, Curtis. I love you, but I love you. You know, it's a little like, well, let him feel his own things. You know, she's like so busy trying to smother him with love that it was a bit much. You know, I've forgotten the first part of the question.
No, that's great. That's great. What was, so Andy, I had a couple other questions, so we'll just stick with him for a minute. What was your favorite genre to act in and your favorite movie that you starred in, not including Phantas, of course?
You know, my favorite movie is always the most recent one. Well, not the most recent one. I worked on a film called Cuck a few years ago, and I think that is some of my best work. It was, I had to do a lot of soul searching to do that job, and I think it was really, really interesting.
Nice.
Genres, I like all the genres, and I know that sounds like I like all the genres, but I find that if I'm playing the villainous over and over and over again, I start to think a little bit that way, which isn't healthy. Or if I'm playing the victim over and over again, I start to think that way. So I like really swinging to extremes on the genres. I love to do a really broad comedy, and then I like to do something really serious. I like to play the heavy, and then I like to play something very sweet, somebody very sweet and kind. I really like to mix it up because I feel it keeps me on my game more.
No, that's great. Yeah, and it's wonderful when you can actually, when you can get a couple that are right next to each other like that, where you can make those switches.
Yes. Like, oh, I was just this, and now I'm this.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what repertory theater used to be like. You know, back in the day, you'd do, you know, you'd play the leading role in the farce, and then a small role in the tragedy, and you just were in every other night you were doing something else. But that was a fun way to do theater back in the day. He wrote, Andy wrote, Andy wrote, you are now considered an advocate and spokesperson for aging gracefully. What made you change your perspective of beauty and embrace your beautiful silver hair and mature look?
You know, I was playing the same part too many times. And along with that, I'd been coloring my hair, and my hair went gray when I was 17. So it had nothing to do with age. I just went gray early. And so I went blonde, and then I went red, and I tried all the colors. And eventually it just started looking wrong to me. It looked wrong and artificial. And I thought, maybe this is the time for me to accept my gray hair while I'm still young looking, while I still have, not too terribly lined face, while I'm still, relatively young, because I thought that I could use my history as somebody who is seen to be sexy.
Mhm.
I thought that I could use that to the advantage of many other women, because women over the age of 40, over the age of 50, we are frequently sort of considered to be disposable, and we only get cast as grandma. And while that's great to be grandma, we are so many other things. And it is a battle to get society to see us as anything other than old, and now we're just good for, taking care of the grandkids. We are still sexual beings. We are still viable. We are still vibrant. And I wanted to really be able to show that and help change the way society views aging.
Wonderful. That is so great. And it sounds like it's been going pretty wonderfully for you.
It's been going pretty wonderfully. I get to work a lot. It's nice.
That's so great. That's so
Never
great.
enough.
I know. I think we might know the answer to this one, but if you could, Requis, again, I may not be saying the names correctly. I apologize if I'm not, asked if you could play any other character in the game, who would you choose and why?
I'd play Curtis.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
It would
Why?
be interesting. Yeah. Actually, no, I don't know if that's a great line, but I don't know
You'd
that
be a great Curtis.
but Curtis is on screen a lot. And I have learned as I've gotten older that it's kind of nice to do a smaller part. You get in, you're good, and then you leave, and somebody else has to carry all of it.
Right.
Somebody else has that burden.
Right. Well, the other big part in the movie, in the game, was Therese. Do you when you? I'm sure you feel like you could have rocked that too a little bit. That would have been fun.
Easily done Therese, but I don't think Therese would have been stretching any different muscles.
Right. Exactly. So it was the right role at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really was.
Okay. And Anya wrote, I always thought that Curtis should move to the seaside with Trevor and JOCILYN. Do you think JOCILYN would have been open to a polyamorous relationship?
I think that if they stuck it out, she might have been, but that would have taken a while to convince her.
Yeah,
I don't see that she would have easily gone there, but hey, if she's open to him being, an alien who murders people, then
that's true. She is definitely sporting a sense of open-mindedness, isn't she? That's hilarious.
Just as long as it's you and Trevor, not you and Therese.
Right. Exactly. It would be, yeah. So Andy with a Y wants to know, and I think we know the answer to this, who is the better pinball player, you or Paul? So since you don't remember the pinball machine, and I remember owning. Yeah.
It was, you were far and away the best.
Best of something that I don't even remember. Yeah. Charlie would like to know, what were your feelings on the game after its release, and how have you handled the resurgence of its popularity? We talked a little bit about that.
We talked about, I barely knew when it came out. I really wasn't paying any attention. I wasn't in the gaming world.
Yeah, me too.
So I didn't really know anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crossed over a heck of a lot more over the years, but back then it was just very separate. I mean, the fact that it was pretty, we were in on something very early that didn't last, but then found its way back in a different way.
Found its way back. But now I would love to work on a video game now.
Yeah, for sure.
Wouldn't it be fun knowing now?
Yeah, for sure. So, and Charlie also wanted to ask if you had played through Phantasmagoria, and I know you haven't. So
I have not.
maybe, Monique, at some point, this thing keeps brewing in the back of my brain that when I finish this whole series and reach out to all the actors and Andy and Lorelai and all the people, and we complete this oral history, that maybe we do some sort of an all-star gameplay where all of us get together virtually and we play the stupid game and just do it for the first time. Most of us will have never played before.
Most of us will be like, how do these things work? What? Like, do I get a technical advisor with me?
Exactly. We should all be assigned a professional gamer that can talk us through things. But anyways, just think that in the future, this might be something we come back to you for.
That would be awesome.
Okay. Mario asks, when did you decide that you will become some of this we've covered already. When did you decide you want to become an actress? I'll ask all three of these. Who is your inspiration? Who is your favorite actor? And what acting technique do you use? So you can just.
I studied with Milton Katselas at the Beverly Hills Playhouse, and he used a lot of different techniques. So we stole a little bit. So it's a little bit of Meisner, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We've got all the different techniques. So because he was very much of the mindset that, it's great to be method, but sometimes you don't tap into those feelings. So you want to have all the technical stuff there in case you don't tap into them. Because great if you do, but you don't want to be standing there going, I really thought I was going to be feeling something now, and I'm not. You want to have everything in place.
Yeah.
A lot of really practical applications. And what was the first question?
Well, let's go with who is your inspiration? Did you have a favorite actor?
Don't know that. I grew up. This is terrible. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and I watched TV more than movies. And so I wanted to be I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
I wanted to be Bewitched. That's what I wanted. I just wanted to be magical. That's all.
That's it.
And I always wanted to be a princess. So, it was like, of course I had to become an actor to do all of it. Of course,
right. I'm going to roll through a couple of these questions. So Artur, he has two questions, but I'm going to skip to the second one because I think we answered the first one. What was the final scene that you filmed as JOCILYN? Do you have any memory of that? Were we doing it in order?
I think it was the stuff with the gun.
Yeah, the stuff with you're right, because we did all those. That's exactly right. We didn't do those location scenes until the end of the shoot. So that was really close to the end.
Yeah.
And do you remember the green screen where we kind of you come in and talk to me? That was rushed. I remember that was kind of near the end.
So rushed. I was watching it going, I don't even remember this location.
I know. Yeah. There was some, the last part of that game did not get its full credit. Rocky wants to know, what was it like to work with Paul?
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Paul is such a professional. I knew that I was working with a theater actor. I knew that I was working with somebody who was trained and knew what he was doing. So many times you end up on things with people who have only ever done film or only ever done television, and there's a lot of stuff they just don't know. And I knew instantly that Paul came from theater and he knew how to do the work. And it made me so much more comfortable.
Yeah, it was same thing with you. I remember we walked into, I don't know if you remember this, you probably, because of the auditions, there was a lot of chemistry that they needed to see. So since you and I didn't, this is a story that's just coming back to me. They brought you up maybe the day before we started shooting or something like that. And so I remember the first time I met you, it was for like a one-on-one sort of get to know each other and read some scenes together. So you had flown up, and I remember I was just nervous. I didn't know you, and we went in and they immediately had us read, a scene where we had to to kiss and like, again, it's like, nice to meet you. And but you were just so open and nice, and you just it just never felt weird. Or I think we always, whenever it was awkward, we could recognize that it was awkward, and we could, you were really easy to talk to about how to do this. Because back then there was no intimacy coordinators. You had to figure stuff out yourself. And I don't think that was always successful. And I felt like you helped, you were really good at that.
Thank you. People seem to have a really hard time with a very basic concept for me. And this is why it's always been easy to do nude scenes and sex scenes and love scenes and kissing scenes and all of that. This is real. This is fake. And I don't know why people have a hard time separating that.
Yeah.
Like, I know that when I'm kissing you on screen, I'm not kissing Paul.
Right.
I'm kissing Curtis, and I'm JOCILYN kissing Curtis. And I know that. And that's why as soon as cut, now we're us again. And then when the camera's rolling, we're these people. And it's just, this is real, this is fake. And I think that really, people really get in their heads about it. Actors really get in their heads about it. Like, I can't kiss her. What will people think? What will my significant other think? But it's like, you're acting. Yeah. It's just as real when I kill somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Except hopefully we don't have to, we can never compare that to reality. But yeah, and that's something you've always felt, that was something you were always able to separate. You never found yourself,
It's always been very clear to me. Like, it's literally a line in the sand. This is real.
I imagine that may not be the case with some of the people you may have been cast opposite of, where there are moments where people were.
Yes.
Yeah. There
are always moments where people think, oh, we're in a kissing scene, so we're really kissing.
Right.
Like, so even when they say cut, we can still touch. It's like, no. Yeah. Now, hopefully we're friendly. Like, you and I are friendly, so we could hang out.
Right. Right.
Oh yeah, we're both sitting here in a bed. We're going to hit while they're adjusting the lights, and we'll sit and we'll just shoot the breeze.
But in your experience now, I mean, the intimacy coordinator, which I think you're doing now, right? Are you actually?
Yes.
I want to hear a little bit about that.
I'm not actually. I've started thinking about pursuing it professionally, and I have coordinated with some other people to help form a guild that oversees a number of intimacy coordinators, and I will step in and advise should anyone ever ask me. But it's not something that I am pursuing doing professionally.
Oh, okay.
Because
just to give perspective, if people aren't aware of this, like as we said, for years and years, any of these intimate scenes was always just the actors kind of figuring it out themselves, the director, and it's never
nobody's comfortable.
It was the Wild West, and so.
Yes.
And sometimes that could go really well, and sometimes it could be awkward. And so nowadays they have what's called an intimacy coordinator. So when they do these scenes, they'll bring someone in, and they work it out together. They allow you to talk about what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with.
Talk about, what are each person's boundaries? Where's the scene going? They help smooth all those things out that we didn't have.
Absolutely, and I think. It's in your experience now. I mean, I'm not sure if you had the intimacy coordinator on one of your sets yet. Have you had a chance to do it? Yeah. And is that so much better?
Oh, it's so much better. It is so much better. Sorry, I have hot flashes. It is so much easier to have an intimacy coordinator on set because you always have somebody to go to. Sometimes, let's say the other actor does something inappropriate, and it always felt weird to go to the director, because what if the director likes that person more than me? What if they have a higher position than I do? Am I going to get fired? Am I going to be seen as the troublemaker? All of that stuff, so it's much easier to talk to an intimacy coordinator, because you feel like this is my go-to. This is my mom for the day, or dad. Usually it's female. Mostly it's females, because mostly it's women who need to be protected.
Absolutely.
But that's not to say men don't need to be protected as well. But it's just too often it's the women being victimized.
Wow.
it's just, it gives you so much peace to have an intimacy coordinator there, and to have everything choreographed. You know, when you're doing a love scene and you're not sure where the camera is and where your hands are, and it's like what all is being shown, to have an intimacy coordinator say, okay, remember we talked about this. Now you're going to go from here to here, and I'm looking, and they're watching the camera, they're looking out for you. It's just.
And it's funny with us. I mean, I vaguely remember it was, and this may be the case a lot of times, it was our DP that was most helpful. He was the one who would say, okay, so here's where the camera is going to be. It's really close on you, but now it's going to work its way wherever. And then you can, as long as you know what's going on. I remember that being something that our DP was kind of guiding us through what our scene was together,
Exactly. Kiss. Okay, you're going to kiss. And now, Monique, take your hand and slide it down his right arm. I'm following your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, okay, we can just like, la, 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 look at you. Like, okay, and now I'm following your hand back up. And okay, now we start kissing again.
That's exactly right. That's funny. All right. Well, we've covered almost all these questions on our own. So, Alvin, I'm going to just skip ahead to the last question of the Facebook group. Which is Ben's question. And that is, this will round this out before we watch our little scenes. Monique, how does it feel finding out 25 years later that Curtis is from another dimension and that you were intimate essentially with an alien?
I feel okay about that because I do have something to share with you. I am also an alien.
I knew it. I knew it.
With it.
It makes sense. How could someone be that perfect?
There you go.
All right. Well, excellent. So that concludes our social media questions. You're going to get more questions because there's a whole bunch coming through right now on live. But before we do that, let's cleanse our palate a little bit. And I've never done this before. I cut together two of our biggest scenes, and they're all super short just because it's a game. So none of our scenes are more than a minute or so, but I've cut together the two. So let's watch this first one together. I think we can talk over it if we want to, and just see what we think as we watch this scene at the Dreaming Tree.
Curtis, I know when we started.
We look so much better now.
We do.
It was just for fun.
I can't hear it, Alvin.
No commitments.
Oh, there we go.
And I meant it too. I really did. Sometimes things change.
Jess, you remember
Is this the needy part you were talking about?
Yeah.
Oh God, it was so hot.
We brought a loaf of stale bread to give to the ducks. And they all came. I never knew there could be so many ducks in one pond. And you ran from them.
Oh, they were gonna eat me. You remember what happened when we got rid of
I
them?
remember that was a.
Of course I do. Speaking of eating, it was so hot. Your skin was so slippery.
We found that dark spot underneath it.
It's funny. I remember that was an abandoned or a restaurant that had gone out of business. It was like a Mexican restaurant that they were able to rent.
Sounds, those.
We always went there and never ate, actually.
Yeah, exactly. There's never food, right? Oh, here it is. So I think it's a really cool camera angle. This is the stuff they did really well.
Yeah.
Kill that slut. Kill her like you killed your mother.
Oh God! Remember they gave me those contact lenses, those grayed out contact lenses. Yeah, that was crazy. We can stop right there for a second. Let's go ahead and pause it.
What was all that coming out of your mouth?
I know they gave me some sort of milky substance. And all that. But you know what's funny is watching that moment. It's funny they ended up using some other voice for the Curtis monster or the alien Curtis. And as I watch it, I'm like, it might have been kind of fun for me to have actually done the voice and found, it could have been more creepy if Curtis was actually talking to himself. And you recognize the voice of that. That.
And it's funny because I kept thinking it was you, but that they run it through some sort of synthesizer.
No, I don't remember them ever. I don't think I ever recorded those. So that was someone else. Yeah. So, All right, so this is the scene where there's been another murder and we're all pretty shaken up. And unbeknownst to you, I have gone on and done some S&M sex with Therese, and you've come over to talk about our grief. So here we go.
Go away for the weekend. I really need to get away from all this.
I'd like to, Joss. I really would. I just thought I've got some really important things to do.
Damn it, Curtis. Why can't you ever talk to me about anything that really matters?
Joss,
No. You know it.
We're too caught up to even talk about it.
I know exactly. I know so much on this.
We're like,
I love your voice. I really, you're just very, you're so sincere. It's amazing to watch.
Right
was,
now, I just really need to feel you inside of me.
that was a good scene. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that scene.
And this is, yeah, I take the clip out because the gamer needs to use that sometime. And this is probably this moment. I remember you take the shirt off and I'm all scarred. I've got scratches.
Hickeys.
Not a very smart guy, that Curtis.
No,
Just
no.
shut up! God, you son of a bitch. Just go back to your filthy whore. You two can have each other.
Yeah, it's funny watching some of these scenes. I'm like, I hear you say, JOCILYN. Oh yeah, there's the little last moment of you putting the gun. Now, what I remember, Monique, is I think you killed me or shoot me like 3 or 4 different ways, because there was all these different ways that I die. Like this is near the end of the game.
Yeah.
And so either they have to make the right choice to get me past you, or they make the wrong choice and I get shot. I think I get shot right here.
And
Yeah, you see me, I think I grab the gun and I don't know.
and I had issues with that gun that day because it's Seattle and I had a lot of coffee. And I was like, my hands were like,
There you go. You just shot me. That's one of my deaths. And I think there's another one where I run away from you and you shoot me in the back. And then there's that great picture that's out there where you're just, aiming straight down. Yeah, that's great. So, yeah, I remember like watching, like you said, with Monique being too needy. I mean, just Curtis is such a jerk. He never says yes to you. He's always got some terrible excuse. And so, I mean, he's going through stuff, but for goodness sakes, treat people better than that,
yeah. It's communication. You got to have good communication.
You gotta have good communication. Speaking of communication, a perfect segue. Why don't we do some of these live Q&As? Now, I am not on YouTube, but I've been getting a lot of questions. So I'm going to back up. I'm sure more will come in, but they're going to come in here. So let me just sort of zip through some of these. Some of this has been covered. Let's see. Alma, my question is, there are a lot of unused stuff that was found in the game, like random keys, a bracelet, and a fire extinguisher. Do you remember what they were used for? Nope. Bethany wants to know, I was, however, asked to relay the question, why did Curtis put pepper on the banana split? Was that Paul's idea? I don't know. Like I said, I showed. Did you see that? Did you watch it?
I was watching it when you said that. It's like I didn't pick up on it, but yeah, what a weird arbitrary choice.
Yeah, I can't. I can see, like, if I was just getting, if I was just getting a little punchy and they didn't call cut, I could have done it for fun. I mean, but I wouldn't be surprised if Andy or Lorelai said, let's do this as sort of a fun little thing. Yeah, so I have no idea. I wish I completely, when I saw it, it blew my mind. I forgot about it.
You don't season your Sunday?
Who came up with the jokes that are seen in emails in Phantasm? Okay, so someone asked, who came up with the jokes that are seen in emails in Phantasmagoria 2 and that the character of Curtis has to respond to? So both of us not playing the game Monique, when you're the player, you go onto his computer, and this is kind of, this was pretty progressive for 1996, and you would be able to read Curtis's emails, and they'd be from you, they'd be from Trevor, they'd be from wherever, and you as the gamer could respond.
Oh,
and
fun.
there'd be like a certain amount of emails that would go back and forth, and some of those were really goofy jokes that I think Trevor's character sends. I don't know. I think, as far as I know, Lorelai wrote every single word of the script. I don't think anybody else did.
Yeah.
So those emails, I'm sure, were part of her writing. Andy Jansen asked, when do you think that almost none of the actors, why have none of the actors played the game? Because I don't know. It's like, it's part of it is that maybe we're of a generation that, and I'm in my 50s, that I just, games didn't quite catch up to me. I played some, but it just didn't become a part of my daily routine. So maybe it's part of the fact that we were all of an age where we didn't grow up being gamers. And so to become a gamer, you have to start from scratch. And that's kind of overwhelming, I think. So
games weren't really a thing until we were already adults.
Yeah, exactly.
For myself, I am not a game player. I mean, never have been in life. Yahtzee, bingo, poker, blackjack. I don't enjoy games, which is weird. Everybody thinks it's weird. Yes, that's the right expression to have on the face, because everybody has that. My boyfriend is like, what do you mean you don't play games? It's like, I'm sorry, maybe Twister once in a while. But I've just never been into games. Now, and that's crazy because I'm super competitive in a lot of other ways.
Right.
But games are not my thing.
Gotcha.
But if we do a big game night, I'm in.
Okay, sounds good. Excellent.
I want my technical.
Snoops4 wants to know. So here's the deal. I don't know do you remember? He wants to know if Monique kept the script pages in her attic. So we're all like kind of geeking out on the fact that the original script was so thick.
It was so thick. And
you remember having one of those too?
Oh my God. It
was
how come huge.
And so none of us kept a copy. And I think it's kind of a rare thing. So it would be fun to track that copy down at some point.
And I kept a lot of my scripts.
Oh, well, here, Artur is asking, he said, I heard that there was a cut scene with JOCILYN looking into the threshold and watching Curtis in Dimension X. Was that actually filmed? Well, I know you go into the dimension with me and we come out together, but I don't remember that much. Do you?
I don't remember that.
Yeah. Craig wants to know how long, do you remember what your contract was? Like how many weeks did you ultimately, I mean, I know you were staggered, but do you remember how many weeks you did?
I think I had like 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And it was interesting because I had never been to Seattle. And I remember going up to Seattle and it was raining, which I was like, well, this is appropriate. And then the next time it snowed. And then the next time it snowed. And then the next time it rained. And then I think the last trip there, it was in May. And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was stunning. Yeah. Everywhere I went, it was like, there's flowers everywhere. I get it now.
Yeah, the trees and the mountains and everything for sure. Yeah, it's one of those days today, actually. This is a tough one. IG Commissioner Jake wants to know how have we been doing on our residuals for this game? Probably we've both gotten rich off those, right?
Were there residuals for this game?
No, nothing, not at all.
Just seen any.
just a contract for the day. Yeah.
I get a lot of residual checks for 2 and 3 cents, but I don't think I've seen any from Phantaz 2.
Me neither. Not a single one. Although I get these. I just got one the other day for, unlike you, I had a very short Hollywood career. I did like 3 or 4 years there, got half a dozen one-liners and such, which I'm going to bore these guys with after I say goodbye to you. But I still get residuals for like for $1.50 for, I got one for maybe 30 cents at one point, it's crazy.
I saved them up and it's like, well, I guess I'll go make a deposit. You
Yeah.
deposit
Exactly.
15 checks and it's $5.
Okay. Shivananda 1 wants to know, do you believe in aliens, out-of-body experiences, or do you think it's possible to have contact with beings from another dimension like in the game? Ready, go.
I think all of that is possible. I think all of that is possible.
Okay. You're gonna keep it open like that, or are you gonna share? Do you have anything more you want to share?
There are so many things we don't know. I did a film and it was at a place that was haunted and we held a seance and I was possessed. And then some people at Fox found out about it. And when they made a show called Fox's Scariest Places on Earth, they tracked me down to do a reenactment. And when they did the reenactment, it was cheesy AF. It was just so cheesy and totally made up. I mean, but we did all this stuff in this hotel and I felt unexplained cold spots in a place that was 110 degrees and had no electricity.
Oh man.
Why is there a spot that feels like ice? So I do believe in certain things. And why shouldn't there be aliens? Why shouldn't there be many more and much more advanced civilizations than this? And for all we know, we're just somebody's computer game.
I know, exactly. Sometimes
we're just a simulation.
Yep. Let's see. Francois D wrote, if there was going to be a sequel to Phantasmagoria 2, would you participate in it?
You bet.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I think it would be fun to see how that, what I liked is that the first one, which I never played, and the second one were totally different. So they weren't connected. So it would make sense that the third one, here's my idea for the third sequel. I'll share this with everybody and someone can take it and make $1 bazillion. I don't have the idea for the actual story, but it should be somebody else altogether, just like the first two were. But whenever this person goes through their adventures and has to get through whatever they're getting through, at some point that person should get sucked down into some weird little portal and they find Curtis and Monique and whoever survived the first game, the actor who survived the first game, that they're all stuck in some sort of jail-like dimension, and that this new person meets them, and together they have to figure their way out. And then once they've figured their way out, then you continue to follow that person on their journey. And it's kind of like this fun little cameo where everybody comes together. And then
we would continue on with
the original story.
Phantasmagoria 2 living on somewhere over there.
Exactly. So that's my thought. There, I'm throwing that out there. So someone take it and run. Okay, I think we're almost done here, and I'm going to let you get on with your night. Snoops4 asked, did Miss Parent remember having used her experience on playing JOCILYN for a specific subsequent role years later? So I guess what he's saying is that having played someone that was so close to you, when you hadn't been doing that, did that come in handy later on?
I don't think I ever played someone who was quite as sweet as JOCILYN. I had some other characters that were as vulnerable and went through a lot of things, but I don't think I played anyone who was really quite as genuinely sweet as JOCILYN was.
Are you able to bring that kind of sweetness to some of an element of that sweetness to some of your not so sweet characters?
I may have, but I can't recall.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just inherent in who you are. You can't not be that, and so to a certain degree,
Yeah, it's so weird to look back and to look back at that time period, because in that, when we shot, I had gotten married that year. And so that was like my newlywed year, and I was hardly at home.
Yeah.
I was barely there. I was bouncing here, bouncing there. I was flying all over the place. So, going back to that person that I was then, I don't know if I could ever be that sweet and innocent again.
Yep. I think my sweetness and innocence is compromised as well.
Really?
No, I don't know. I
No,
don't think
you're
I'm-
still the same, Curtis. Well, yeah, wait.
Well, listen, I think I'm going to let you go. I want to thank you so much for joining me, Monique. It's just a pleasure seeing you again. I can't
Great to
believe.
see you.
I
And
feel
so
very-
great to hear all these questions from everyone. And I love the fan art.
Oh,
The
isn't that
fan art is
something?
great. And I love that you're doing that at the beginning.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah.
That's really nice. When you were running the credits, I was watching them. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool.
And then we got to look into it again. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think that,
fun
we'll see. There's been a lot of wonderful support on this project, and I'm just going to ride this wave and see how long what we can do with it. But I think we're on our way to making a really good oral history of this game, so people can refer to this when they want to.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
You're
It's been
welcome,
an
Monique.
absolute joy.
All right. Now I'll reach out to you soon. All right.
Okay, good.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Wow, that was so cool. Yeah, everyone's saying thank you, and I will make sure she was just amazing. Such a cool person. Okay, it's just so weird. I feel like I'm doing like my next guest. There is no next guest. It's going to be me, but I do have a couple things before we go. We have a part 3, and part 3 is going to be in just a couple minutes. It will be short, but I think you guys will like it. But before we do part 3, I think that I want to take this moment kind of to piggyback on what Monique was saying. And I just want to thank all of my Patreon fans for helping make this thing happen. Honestly, I could not do it without you. I'm blown away by your generosity. As of today, we have 66 members of what we're calling the Rat Pack, or on other days, the Mob Blob, or the Blob Mob, or Wind Technicians, or Wind Techies, whatever we feel like. And you guys have just been so supportive, and it really means a lot. As I said from the beginning, our immediate goal is to make a meaningful, thoughtful, and really well-produced oral history of this game to celebrate the 25th anniversary. But to do that well and consistently, and I hope that you know that I am putting all this time into this, in addition to that time and effort, there are costs involved. And so your support really does go a long way. And with that support, we're hoping to produce more and more content that we think you'll enjoy. I don't know exactly what this is going to turn into, but more and more people are reaching out to me. Every day, something new is happening. And I feel like this can really morph into something beyond just creating an oral history. So as we move forward, I'm going to want your help and your input so that we can figure this out together. But I think there's some great things ahead of us. So my hope between now and our next live stream is to double our numbers. So you can join us for as little as $3 a month, or as much as you can afford. We have some fun perks on there right now for various tier members, whether it's a signed photo or some exclusive content. We're gonna, like I said, get those maybe those t-shirts together and for sale. And depending on the donor tier, I could be delivering your groceries to your door for life. So there's something for everyone. So please come join the family and help us grow this project. Okay, that's my big PBS fundraiser there. All right, and that's going to bring us to part 3. It's two very short sections I want to share with you. And the first section I'm calling Paul's Hollywood Career, which was very short. And so I am going to, for the next couple of episodes, I am going to share with you one of my very few Hollywood stories. And my first one is the story of how I got into the movie Pleasantville. When I moved to Los Angeles in '97, just a year, maybe 6 months after Phantas wrapped, I got there. I didn't know anybody, and like most actors, I just started writing, sending my picture and resume to all the casting directors and agents. I got one of those books that had like a directory. And someone said, you really should focus on casting directors because they're always looking for talent, where agents sometimes have too much talent. They're not looking. So I started sending out pictures and resumes in the mail, batches of 20 a day. And I got to it from like the A's to like maybe the C's. And I had this moment of like, God, does anybody ever go all the way through this book? Because it's just so tedious and expensive. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to try something different. I'm going to start from the Z's and work my way backwards, just for the heck of it, because maybe some people in the T's and U's and W's don't get as many pictures and resumes. So I start sending them out from the Z's, and I swear to God, like 4 days later, I get a call from Deborah Zane, who is, unbeknownst to me, is a major casting director. She's done The Hunger Games and what else? So many movies. I can't think of them off the top of my head. American Beauty. There's a tons of movies from now, but she's just the real deal. So she calls and she says, I'd like to meet you. And I go and I meet her and she goes, no one sends me pictures. So that was really funny. So I ended up having a really cool meeting with her. She liked me, or was nice to me. And she said she had a sister named Bonnie who did a lot of TV. That was some big TV at the time. And that she would refer me. And she goes, I don't have anything for you right now, but we have one role in a movie. It's a dinky little thing. It's kind of a college counselor just droning on and talking to students about their future. And it's just supposed to be really obnoxiously boring. So do you want to try that? And I'm like, okay. So I read for her. I put myself on tape. And then again, sort of like Monique, I just had this amazing first experience where a week or so later, I get a call from Deborah saying, Gary Ross, the director, saw you. He liked it. He wants to hire you. So that was that. So I end up getting there, and I don't meet Gary until they get me at the lectern. They bring in about 200 extras playing bored teenagers. And Gary just basically says, okay, action. And I did this scene. So let's play my Pleasantville moment.
For those of you going on to college next year, the chance of finding a good job will actually decrease by the time you graduate. The available number of entry-level jobs will drop 31% over the next 4 years. Median income for those jobs will go down as well. Obviously, my friends, it's a competitive world, and good grades are your only ticket through. In fact, by the year 2000...
chance of contracting HIV from a non-monogamous lifestyle will climb to 1 in 150.
Debut right there. So stay tuned for next week's part 2 of Paul's Hollywood career. I actually have a really fun story that I'll share on Patreon about the day I filmed that. And then there's a great story of I was invited to the Brown Derby for the rap party where I made a kind of an idiot of myself in front of the director. So I'll share that a different time. So here's part 2 of our last section of the evening. And I'm calling this, I'm going to call this Phantaz 2 scenes that remind me of movie scenes. And I'm not sure how many of these I'm going to do, but this one made me laugh. So when I ran into a movie that I love recently, when I used to love, and I hadn't seen it in a long time. It's called Vampire's Kiss with Nicolas Cage. And it's a great movie, and it's Nicolas Cage at his over-the-top best. It's one of the best performances that goes so big that I just love it. So anyways, I had this moment where I watched a scene where he's talking to his therapist, and his therapist is a female doctor, and he loses his temper with her. And I remembered, in Phantaz 2, my therapist, who's a female doctor, also Curtis loses his temper with her. So this is called Scenes from Phantaz that remind me of scenes from movies that I like. So I'm going to show you Curtis's brief temper tantrum, and then we get to watch Nicolas Cage throw the temper tantrum of all time. So let's watch this together.
If I were having delusions or hallucinations, what would you suggest I do?
I would want to check you into a hospital for observation, Curtis.
I will not go back there. I'll blow my goddamn head off first.
It doesn't have to be Greenwood, Curtis. We can take you to a private facility.
Shut up! You stay away from me.
I had a difficult day yesterday. Got a little upset at the office.
Do you want to talk about it?
Well, it's just there's this contract we're trying to locate. Shouldn't, if a literary agency makes a copy of every contract, of every single contract it makes with a client, and then puts it in a file, in the appropriate file, shouldn't the copy be in that file?
Yes, I suppose it should.
It should, right?
Yes.
Right? Yep.
Unless, of course, it's somehow been misfiled.
What, misfiled?
Yes, misfiled. Sometimes somebody puts a document in the wrong file and then it's misfiled. It makes it much harder to find.
Who? What do you mean, who?
I don't know who exactly.
You don't?
No, I don't. Whoever filed it in the first place, but for God's sakes, Peter, I am not telling you one single thing you don't already know.
How could somebody misfile something? What could be easier? It's all alphabetical. You just put it in the right file, according to alphabetical order. You know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
Peter.
H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P,
Peter.
Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Huh? That's all you have to do.
Very good. You know your alphabet.
I never misfiled anything. Not once, not one time.
I'm sure that you didn't.
I want to know, really, who did?
I cannot possibly tell you that.
You can't?
No, I can't.
Ha! And you call yourself a psychiatrist.
I love that scene so much. I can't even stand it. I hope it played well and you guys got a chance to enjoy it too. I'd love to know how many of you know this movie and love it, or know this movie and hate it, or have never heard of it before. But it is a really fun movie. I think it holds up. I think it holds up from 1988. I haven't seen all of it in a while, but that scene is great. So anyways, if you thought that Curtis was mean to his therapist, just keep in mind that Nicolas Cage was way meaner to his. And, just for fun, as I was trying to figure out how to show this to you guys, I ended up editing a kind of a mashup between Curtis's scene and Nicolas Cage's scene. And I ultimately didn't seem to make sense to send it tonight or show it tonight, but I will post that on Patreon. So again, another reason to join Patreon. I'll make that a special content of the mashup of Curtis and Nick getting angry at their therapists. All right, so we are wrapping up. You guys, thank you so much. I hope, again, as I said last time, it's just so strange sitting in my living room talking and hoping and assuming you guys are there listening and getting out of this what I hope you are, what I put into it. Next month is we locked down our guest for next month, and you guys are gonna flip. You're gonna love this person. I'm not gonna tell you yet. I will announce it on Patreon first, and then I'll announce it to everybody else shortly thereafter. But it's gonna be a special show next month, rivaling this one. And so I guess that's it. We'll announce the person and the time and the date soon enough. Please follow us on Twitter and YouTube. Our YouTube channel is just about to hit 1,000 subscribers, and we'll be housing all of these videos on there, plus special content and promos that we're making. So there's some fun stuff on there right now, but we'd love to get over 1,000 if we can. And then we'd love to get some more followers on Twitter. And I don't know how things went on Twitch tonight, but hopefully that went well too. And I guess that's it. I got to figure out a good way to end these things. But I do want to thank you all so much for joining us. Thanks to Monique, and thanks to my team of helpers making me. I know somebody texted, when can we see Alvin? You can never see Alvin, but Alvin has been helping us with all the stream and making this stuff happen. So many thanks to him. And I guess that's it. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great Friday and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we'll see you next month.